This is Computer Science 1213, Introduction to Computing. I'm Chris Rule, the instructor, and this video concerns itself with Unit 9, the walk method. I want to show you how that all goes together. In the course resources of my RSU, under the handouts section, in Unit 9, there is a file called walk code that is the actual code you need to enter in Alice for this particular project. So take a look at that. Now, if I was going to do this project, I would start by choosing a background, and then when that loads, I would go to Set Up Scene. Because the first thing we need to do is take care of the rule of thirds. So I'm going to click on this lower curved arrow and adjust my camera so that I see about a 1/3 ground and about 2/3 sky of this desert. The next thing I need for this project, which there's details on the assignment in Unit 9, is I need a couple of people. So I'm going to get a new adult. And put them up here. Oh yeah, that one will do. So there's my first one. Now I'm going to get another new adult. This will be adult person 2. I'm going to move them over here. And I want to turn them so that they're facing each other. To do that, I've got to get the attention of this red circle at the bottom. And now I'm going to check the top view so I can see how well they're lined up. And they look pretty good at this point. So I'm going to go with that for now. Got one person here and one person here. So now I've got the right background set up, the camera position's good, got these two people. Now if I want, I can choose a person and pick an object marker. Object marker 1, and then pick the other person and object marker 2. And this is where they're going to be from now on. I don't have to worry about getting them out of place. All right, so now I'm going to edit the code. And according to the code we have on the handout, we need a couple of methods that both exist under the person class. So in the person class, I'm going to add a procedure. I'm going to call it walk. And I'm going to add another procedure. I'm going to call it step. Now under each one of these, we need parameters. Under the walk, I'm going to add a parameter, and it's going to be called num steps. I don't want all that capitalized. And it's going to be a whole number because this is going to be the number of steps we want each person to take. Then under step, we need a parameter, and we're going to call it foot because they step with one foot or the other. And this is going to be a text string. Now I've got my parameters set up. These parameters, foot and num steps, provide a link of information For my first method, we'll put in num steps, and then when the walk method runs, it will know how many steps to use. Then when the walk method runs, it'll call the step method, and it'll tell it which foot to use. All right, the next thing we need to do is we need to count how many steps that they're going to take. And to do that, we're going to use the control called count. Oh, I don't want it here though. I want it in walk. Here it is. And num steps is available for me to use. So I want to count up to num steps. And this num steps, I need to divide by 2 and see if it divides evenly. So if I put in a even number in my first method, it'll divide evenly. And if I don't, there will be a remainder. So to do this, I click on the down arrow by num steps and I go to math. And I go to this one that's just text. It says division and remainder. And then it shows integer divide, and there's places for a value on either side of this. The first one will be num steps, and the second one will be 2. Count up to basically half of whatever number of steps were put in, is what that's saying. And each time you go through this loop, do the step routine, first with the left foot, and then with the right. Now, if it's an odd number of steps, there's going to be 1 step left over. So I have to check for that. When you pull up an if control, you only have an option of true or false. Doesn't matter which one you pick because we're going to change it. We want to change that to checking to see if the number of steps integer remainder was a 1 or a 0. So since num steps was a whole number, I'm going to pick that comparison, go down here to exactly equal to, pick num steps for my first thing, and I'm going to pick 1 for my second. Now, instead of num steps here, I need the integer remainder, where I've got num steps first and 2. So if the integer remainder divided by 2, if the remainder is 1, if that's true, then I need to do this left foot again. To make sure that when they finish walking, both feet are together. That's what that does. That concludes the walk method. The step method begins with a couple of variables. These are going to be decimal numbers. One will be step duration, and it's going to hold 0.25. And the other one is also going to be a decimal number, and it's going to be called move distance, and it will also hold 0.25. Now they have the same value, so you might wonder, well, why don't we just have one variable for that? Well, it helps keep things straight. Now we need an if statement to decide if they're moving their left foot or their right foot. Again, when we start an if statement, it comes up true or false. We pick true. But now we're going to check and see if that string, and notice this last option down here says text string comparison, if that parameter called foot equals left. So this says if foot equals left, ignoring the case. We don't care if it's uppercase or lowercase, but if it equals it, then do all the steps in here. If it doesn't equal it, then do all the steps down here. So all the steps in each of these need to begin with a do together. So we'll put that in here because we want all these things to happen at once. And now we've got a lot of joints that we need to move around. This particular method is under the person class. So when we see this word this here, it's referring to a person. If we click on this down arrow, then we have this drop down, and this arrow to the right shows some of the joints that can be adjusted. The first one that we need to put in is get spine base, which is this second one here. Now that changes all the beginning of the procedures to say get spine base. What we want to do is turn forward. So we'll turn forward, and on most of these, probably all of these, it's going to be a custom amount. So you might as well just go ahead and hit custom. This is going to be 0.01, which isn't much, but it helps with the look of the walk. Now, having put in the joint, the action, the direction, and the amount, we're going to put now the how long, the step duration, and the animation style. And these two things are going to be the same all the way down. So if we hit add detail and go to duration, we don't have a lot of options here. I'm just going to pick one. And then I'm going to click on that one. And now I've got step duration as an option. So that's kind of a two-step procedure. Then I'm going to add detail again and pick animation. And I'm going to begin and end abruptly. The next one I need is get pelvis. So I go back here to this big drop down, click that other arrow, and I want to find the pelvis, which is the first item, and it's going to roll to the right 0.02. Do my custom. There it is. Then we pick the duration. I'll pick a 1. Click on the 1, pick step duration, do animation style, begin and end abruptly. The third one is get spine upper. So I'll click here, and I want to get spine upper. There's also some to the right. Here's some more. This is where we find get spine upper. These are all the joints now that a person can move. We're going to get that one. And what we want to do is we want to roll right. So here's the roll. We want to go to the right CS1213-U9 and then I'll add the duration again. Pick duration and 1, click on the 1, change its step duration, click on the animation style, begin and end abruptly. That's done. Then I'll do get left hip. So I need to go back here, find the left hip, kind of in the middle. And what I want to do is I want to turn backward by 0.1. Duration, click the 1, click down on the 1, pick step duration, pick the animation, begin to end abruptly. Then I'm going to get the right hip. Got to find it now. Get the right hips right there. Get the right hip, and I want to move it forward 0.05. Turn. I want to turn it forward. And then again, I'm going to do the 2-step for the duration and add the animation style. After the right hip, I need the left knee. So I need to find the left knee. There it is. And the left knee needs to turn forward. So I'll get the turn forward, a set amount 0.15. Then I'll add the duration, little 2-step process. Then I'll change the animation style. That one's done. Then I'll get the right shoulder. So I need to find the right shoulder. Right there. And I want to turn it left. .04. Then I'll do the duration again. Click down on the 1, pick step duration, pick the animation, begin and end abruptly. And the next thing I need to do is to move. So what I have to do now is get rid of all this extra stuff here, this right shoulder stuff. To do that, I click on this down arrow and then just click over here on the this. See, all that extra stuff's gone now. And I can move forward, move distance, and the duration is step duration. Then the animation style is begin and end abruptly. Now I need another do together. And on this one, I need to straighten out the joints. This puts everything back the way it's supposed to be. It's way down at the bottom of the list of procedures. Straighten out the joints. I'll add the duration to be step duration. And I'll do the animation as begin and end abruptly. Now this next line is the same as this move. So I'm going to copy that to the clipboard and pull it down here. It's the same line. So I'll just copy and paste it. All right. That's the if part. Now what I can do, instead of going through all that again, is I'm going to copy this big block to the clipboard and drag it down here. I need it below the else. Right there. And then I'm going to copy this little part and drag that down here. And then I'm going to check them. Now this bottom part is the same. If I look here, I'm looking just at the names going through here. For the second part, get spine base, get pelvis, get spine upper. Then it says get right hip. So I'm going to move this right hip up here. Right hip, left hip. And then it says right knee. This one says left knee. So I'm going to change that to right knee. Right there. Right knee, and then it says left shoulder. This is the right shoulder, so I need a left shoulder. Left shoulder right there. Okay. The rest of it's all right. Now I'm going to check my actions. I've got turn, roll, roll, turn, 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 turn. So those are good. Now I'm going to check my direction. Forward is good. This right should be a left, and this right should be a left. Then I need a backward and a forward, another forward, and a right. And those are good. Now I'll check my amounts, 0.01, 0.02, 0.0125, but then this is supposed to be 0.1, 0.01. No, it's 0.1, 0.1. And then this next one, the left hip, is supposed to be 0.05. Then I've got 0.15 and 0.04. The rest of it looks good. And the duration and animation style are all the same. So that's the step routine. Here's the walk routine. And if we run the program, nothing happens, because we don't have anything in my first method yet. And what we want to do is a do together, because I want them both to walk in at the same time. Now I'm going to pick one of them, adult person. I want them to walk, and let's have them walk 9 steps and see what happens. Then I'm going to pick the other person, person 2. I'm going to have them walk 9 steps just to see what happens. So now when I run it, let me make it big. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. What if I change 1 to 10? Run it again. Oh, that's pretty close. That's too close. I don't want them that close. I'm going to change this guy back to 9. Let's go with that. Now the other thing you can do is go to your setup scene and move one of them forward or backward. So they wouldn't go as far, because they would go further depending on how you moved them. So they walk together, and now I want another do together. And I want each person to turn. So I want this person to turn to the right, a quarter turn. Then I'm going to pick the original person and turn them to the left quarter turn. Then I'm going to copy this to the clipboard and change the numbers. Let's change it to 25. We'll change the other one to 25. Now if I run it, I'm walking toward each other. Notice the arms are moving, the legs are moving, knees are moving. They weren't quite exactly facing each other, and you can tell that because now they're slightly walking away from one another. And that's okay. If you can get them to be directly next to looking at each other, exactly going in at each other, then when they walk away, they'll be walking together. That's the project for this week. There's no worksheet, there's no quiz. And that's the project. This concludes the video for the walk method.